Hey there, beautiful people. This is Mark Siegel, your resident ed tech specialist, here with part 2 of your Google Forms. So the first one was for our beginners, and it was a whirlwind tour about how to make the most basic parts of a Google Form. Now I'm going to start adding tips and tricks, but I'm going to break it down so they're much shorter videos. So we're just going to focus on like one major trick each time in our Google Forms. So you'll remember that last time I made this beginning of the year assessment form with you in part 1. And so I just added a couple of questions here. Now what I want to do is I want to add sections. So I'm going to show you 2 pieces with sections that you can do. So let's add a section. So you'll remember that on this little toolbar on the right hand side, there are some options. One of the options is add a section. So now you'll see it says tab section 2 of 2. This one says section 1 of 2. So let's give this a different section. So let's assume I'm going to collect some personal information about the students. Okay, obviously, again, I can leave a description. Maybe what I want to do is I want to collect their birthday. So I'm going to click and drag this question down to this section down here. Let's add another question of what are your parents or guardians' names? Okay, so now, something I mentioned in the last one that Google likes to think for you. Notice I typed in this question. Google looked at this and said, hey, this isn't a multiple choice type question. And so it automatically shifted it to short answer for me. Now, if the students don't want to fill this in, I'm going to leave this non-required. So I'm going to uncheck this. So here's the beauty of sections. When I preview this, you'll notice that only one question appeared on the first page. So I'm going to choose block 1A, and I'm going to click next. Now it jumped me to a different section. So the more sections you have, the more pages, the more screens the students will click through. So this is great if you want to break up the monotony of a particular assessment or an evaluation tool or whatever it happens to be. Only put 5 questions on a page and have them jump to the next section. So I'm going to go close this and go back to my page. You'll notice at the end of a section, okay, section 1 of 2, I have a choice at the bottom. After section 1, continue to the next section. I can choose which section, or I can choose submit form. So let's, for example, let's put in several sections. So let's put in another section, and this one let's call school information. So, and I'm going to add a question, and obviously my birthday and parent guardians ones got moved. So I'm going to move those back to where they're supposed to be. So there's a page here. Okay. That didn't move where I was supposed to go. There it goes. Okay. So in this question is, I'm going to ask this one. Favorite, or well, let's give them more than one options. What are your favorite subjects in school? Okay, let's see what it does. It still gave me the multiple choice. I'm going to do a checkbox for this one just so I can have something different. Science, technology, math, English, French. No, why not? Okay. Or let's give them another. Okay. So now I have 3 sections. So I have continue to next section, continue to next section, or after this one, it automatically is going to submit. I can change this if I want to. I can change this so that this section, let's say personal information, instead of going on to section 3, I can change it to be submit form. After section 1, I can change it to be go to section 3. So I can change things depending on which sections I want them to complete. That's going to come into play later. You're sitting here going, well, that seems weird. Why would I do that? Don't worry about it right now. I'm going to bring this back when I get to a more advanced thing about differentiation, like differentiating your quiz based on the abilities of your students. Okay, so I just want to show that to you. But let's go back and let's just make them all back to continue to next section. Okay, now that we have sections, I'm going to show you one little trick. And here's the trick. I'm going to click on this first question. See how it says block 1A, block 1B? Okay, now because I have multiple sections, I have now new options in those 3 little dots down below. Notice it says go to section based on answer. I can actually change this depending on what they respond with. So for example, let's say I want my 1A classes to answer the personal information, but I want my 1B classes to answer the school information. Now, this is a little bit different. You would tailor this. And you're thinking, well, why would I do it this way? Aha! You could now build a test all under one form that has different versions for each class. So you could have a section for section 1A, a section for your section 1B, and it could be totally different questions with totally different answers. And even within that, you can still shuffle the answers and shuffle the questions. So this gives you the option of choosing it. This is also a great way to differentiate questions. And like I said, I'll talk about this in another video where we talk about differentiation. But this is a great way to give your students specific responses and specific questions to support them based on how they're answering the questions. So when I do this, let me show you what it looks like real fast. So now I preview. Watch. If I click 1A and I click next, it jumps to my personal information. At this point, I might have it submit right after this form. If I jump back and I choose 1B, notice that my responses is now school information, and then I have submit. So remember what I said about those pieces underneath. If I was giving this as a test and I wanted different information for block 1A, different information for block 1B, then at the end I wouldn't choose go to next section, I would go to submit form. And so when my students in block 1A finish this section, submit will automatically be an option. So sections are a great way to differentiate your quizzes based on the answers and based on the information. It's also a great way to chunk information for your responders. So whoever's taking it, they don't have to see everything in one long form. They can see it in pieces as they go. So hopefully this helped you. Next video, we're going to talk about inserting videos and images so that you can use these as assessment tools. So come back for video 3 and watch to see how we do that.